In the pre-dawn dark, someone walked up to a solid granite monument, planted an explosive, and ran, and by nightfall, the entire structure was gone. No one was hurt, but the monument didn't survive the day. By evening, what was left had been torn down for safety, the whole thing erased in under 12 hours. The stones had stood on this hill since 1980, carved with instructions for rebuilding civilization after the world ends. Nobody has ever confirmed who built them, and to this day, nobody knows who blew them up. The story begins in June of 1979, when a well-dressed stranger walked into the Elberton Granite Finishing Company and asked for something almost impossible, a monument built to outlast nearly everything else on Earth. He called himself Robert C. Christian, a pseudonym, he admitted up front. He said he represented a small group of Americans who wished to remain anonymous, and he seemed to have an unlimited budget. Nobody at the unveiling asked the obvious question out loud. Why would an anonymous stranger spend what would today be worth well over $500,000 on a monument he'd never put his real name on? To handle the money, Christian was introduced to a local banker named Wyatt Martin. Christian told Martin his real name on one condition: that Martin carry the secret to his grave. Martin kept that promise for over 40 years. He died in 2021 at the age of 91, and as far as anyone has ever proven, he never told a soul. On the vernal equinox, March 22, 1980, the finished monument was unveiled to a crowd of a few hundred curious locals and reporters. A sitting congressman even attended. Nobody explained who had actually paid for it. What they saw was staggering. 4 19-foot granite slabs arranged around a central pillar, crowned by a capstone weighing well over 100 tons, aligned to track the sun, the stars, and the seasons. Christian later wrote his own book about the project, insisting the whole effort had no hidden purpose, just, in his words, common sense pathways to a peaceful world. He also wrote that intelligence acquires wisdom only when it's well-informed and compassionate, language that read to some as thoughtful philosophy and to others as something stranger altogether. Carved into the 4 main stones in 8 languages were 10 guides, instructions, Christian said, for rebuilding society after some future catastrophe. The first instruction was the one that would follow the monument for the rest of its life: maintain humanity under 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature. A 5th stone, set flat nearby, explained the monument's purpose and gave its construction dates in 4 ancient scripts: Babylonian cuneiform, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphics. Other guides called for a world court, for balancing personal rights with social duties, for avoiding petty laws and useless officials. To some, it read as a call for sustainability. To others, it read as something closer to a plan, a population reduced by more than 90% from where it stands today. The monument earned the nickname America's Stonehenge. It also worked as a functioning astronomical instrument. A slot cut through the capstone tracked the North Star, and a hole aligned with the solstice sun each year. The 10 guides read less like a manifesto and more like a strange civic wish list, utopian to some, deeply sinister to others, depending on what you brought when you read them. For decades, the stones sat quietly by the highway, drawing tourists, pagans, survivalists, and the occasional vandal. They were spray painted in 2008, again in 2014. By the 2010s, the site had become a fixture on Weird America road trip lists and paranormal YouTube channels alike. But online, something else was building. Message boards and conspiracy channels began calling the Guidestones a New World Order blueprint. Proof, they said, of a secret plan for global depopulation. Some historians pushed back on the astronomical marvel, framing entirely, arguing the alignments were rough at best, more folk art than functioning observatory. Some Christian groups went further, calling the monument outright satanic, a monument to the Antichrist hiding in plain sight beside a Georgia highway. Others connected it to older conspiracies entirely, claims about secret elites, one world government, and population control that long predate the monument itself. The mystery of who built it only deepened the mythology. A monument with no confirmed author is, by nature, a blank canvas for whatever anyone wants to project onto it. Local officials in Elberton, meanwhile, saw something much simpler. A roadside curiosity that brought steady tourism dollars into a small granite industry town. Mayor Daniel Graves later said his usual answer whenever someone brought the stones up was simple. He was proud to have them. By the early 2020s, the Guidestones had drifted from roadside oddity into a genuine flashpoint, a physical target for a set of beliefs that were, at the same moment, spreading faster online than ever before. Some far-right commentators went the opposite direction, celebrating the stones as coded proof of white nationalist origins, pointing to unverified claims about who financed the project. None of these theories were ever substantiated. What they had in common was a shared certainty that the truth was being deliberately hidden from ordinary people. By the spring of 2022, that anger had a name attached to it. Candace Taylor, a Georgia educator running for governor, made the Guidestones a centerpiece of her campaign. On a debate stage on May 1st, she told voters the sitting governor had failed them. The next day, she posted a campaign video, set to ominous music filmed over drone footage of the Guidestones. She linked the monument's population line to COVID-19 vaccines. She compared abortion to the sacrifices she said were demanded by demons. She called it plainly a war between good and evil. Her proposed policy, if elected, was direct. Executive Order Number 10, demolish the Georgia Guidestones. She lost the primary by a wide margin 2 weeks later. But 65 days after that campaign video went online, in the dark hours of July 6th, someone finished the job she had only proposed. GBI investigators found no direct evidence tying Taylor or her campaign to the bombing. Her connection was rhetorical, not criminal, as far as the public record shows. But the timing left an impression that has never fully gone away. A public call for the monument's destruction followed within 2 months by exactly that. It happened at 4 in the morning on July 6, 2022. Security cameras installed years earlier after the vandalism were still rolling. The footage shows a figure approaching the monument carrying something, moving fast but not panicked, setting an object down near the base of one panel, then sprinting back into the dark. Moments later, a second camera catches the blast itself. A sudden white flash, and one of the 4 granite slabs simply ceases to exist. A silver sedan with a sunroof pulls away from the scene within seconds. Investigators later confirmed it as the getaway vehicle. No plate number was ever recovered. Elbert County deputies arrived to find one panel destroyed and the other structurally compromised. By that afternoon, engineers made the call. The whole monument was too dangerous to leave standing. By 5 that evening, less than a day after the blast, excavators finished what the bomb had started. What remained of the Georgia Guidestones was reduced to a pile of rubble on a flatbed truck. Security cameras had only been installed after earlier vandalism, an ironic detail since they ended up recording the monument's total destruction instead of preventing it. Emergency dispatchers reportedly received calls from nearby residents who felt the explosion through their walls, nearly half a mile away. Within hours, news vans lined the rural highway that had, until that morning, seen little more traffic than the occasional curious tourist. By nightfall, the highway was quiet again. The monument simply wasn't there anymore. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation opened a case immediately and offered a reward for information. They released the surveillance footage to the public, hoping someone would recognize the car, or the walk, or the coat. Nobody came forward. A year passed, then 2. As of the most recent public update from investigators, no suspect has ever been named, and no arrest has ever been made. Researchers who track extremism noted the timing wasn't coincidental. A monument long framed online as a globalist blueprint had just been condemned on a public debate stage and destroyed within weeks. One researcher from the Anti-Defamation League put it plainly: conspiracy theories can and do have real-world consequences, the same pattern seen in QAnon-linked violence elsewhere in the country. In Elberton, the loss felt personal. The man who poured the original foundation said something that had never hurt anyone was simply gone for no clear reason. Others in town worried less about the mystery and more about the money. Decades of tourist traffic built around a monument that overnight no longer existed. Without a name, a face, or a confirmed motive, the bombing remains exactly what it was the morning it happened, an act of destruction nobody has ever claimed. A tip line stayed open, a reward stayed posted, but 2 years on, the case file by the GBI's own admission hadn't moved. Some in Elberton wondered whether the case would ever close, whether the same anonymity that had always surrounded the monument would now surround its ending too. For a monument built entirely on secrecy, it was, in a strange way, a fitting final chapter, another name nobody would ever learn. The bombing reopened a much older mystery too. Who was R.C. Christian in the first place? By 2022, only 2 men had reportedly ever known for certain, and both were already dead. In 2015, a little-seen documentary called Dark Clouds Over Elberton filmed Wyatt Martin, late in life, opening a locked case of Christian's old letters for the camera, and almost showing too much. Journalists later pieced together an address glimpsed on camera. In 2024, a CNN reporter traced it to a name, Herbert Kirsten, an Iowa physician who had died back in 2005. It's a theory, not a confirmed fact, built from a documentary slip, a decades-old address and careful reporting, not from any admission. The Guidestones' true builder has still never been officially named. Kirsten's family and associates have never publicly confirmed or denied the connection. The theory remains, by CNN's own framing, an educated guess, not a verdict. Some researchers favor an older theory, that R.C. Christian was never one person, but a stand-in for a small group who split the secret between them and never spoke of it again. Whatever the truth, it left with the men who carried it. And unlike the monument itself, that secret was never photographed, filmed, or blown apart. The monument has since been referenced in films, songs, and internet lore far more often than in any actual scholarship. Proof that mystery, once released, is almost impossible to put back. Today, the hill outside Elberton is just grass. No monument, no plaque, no sign explaining what once stood there or why it's gone. Two mysteries now sit on top of each other in that empty field: who built the Georgia Guidestones and who destroyed them. Neither has ever been officially answered. Somewhere, a piece of granite from the original monument reportedly sits in a local museum, one surviving fragment of a 100-ton structure that vanished in under a day. A 4-word phrase from the original inscriptions has outlived the stones it was carved into. Let these be guide stones. Nobody, it turns out, ever agreed on a destination. All our research and sources for this case are linked in the description below.